Good morning, learners and viewers. First and foremost, it is my duty to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, both past and present. As I daringly encounter and endeavour to speak amongst you enthusiast souls, I learnt where dare derives from. Let's break down the origins of dare. The word bold comes from the Sanskrit word drishta, and according to Dr. Brené Brown in her TED talk called The Power of Vulnerability, which holds over 32 million views worldwide, the term courage is derived from the Latin word cor, which means heart. Therefore, dare equals drishta cor, which means bold, brave heart. I daily encounter two daring parties, the lawmakers and the lawbreakers. When you are surrounded by daring parties all around you, you sometimes question, how can I possibly be so successful if I was just the same as every single criminal defense lawyer out there? How do I dare to be different? How do I compete and achieve envious work social life balance? So I created a vision for myself and I set two goals in life. My first goal is to help at least one malnourished and or impoverished human being struggling to survive in a developing country. That is why 2 years ago, I became a guardian for an orphan girl in India, and I'll continue to sponsor her education and her well-being for another 10 years at least, until she becomes a leader of her own free will on her own 2 feet. My second goal is to push for constitutional recognition of our Indigenous population under the Australian Constitution. That is why I've taken it upon myself to engage in closing the gap. I'm currently assisting an Aboriginal elder, pro bono, to exhume the human remains of her deceased son. My pro bono client's son had passed away in incarceration, and that is not uncommon in this country. As an Aboriginal person, Aboriginal deaths in custody since the 1980s was recorded the highest in the period 2014 and 2015, according to the Institute of Criminology in Australia. It is crucial for justice to be widely accessible for our Indigenous population. The purpose for my very existence is that I voice my opinions for minority groups or disadvantaged members of our community by persisting that everyone has an equal opportunity to access advocacy and efficient advocacy in our criminal justice system. Criminal lawyers have a very high reputation to live up to, and we must follow respectful etiquette as officers of the court. We are a close-knitted profession where our every move is almost monitored and or critiqued both inside and outside the courtroom. After all, only the daring could look into the eyes of a pedophile, a serial killer, or a gang rapist without being affected or fazed. I've seen it all. Telephone numbers being intercepted during jail calls, overseeing corruption against and amongst the law enforcement authorities, covering up for colleagues who have mental health issues that they're battling, and we sometimes become emotionless because we do what we do best. Sometimes we deal with the most dangerous criminal defense lawyers and the most dangerous criminals that you may not even want to associate with in your wildest dreams. Some of the practical challenges that I face daily include sourcing word-of-mouth referrals and building a clientele at such a young age, only 5 years as an admitted solicitor in New South Wales, and embarking upon the roles of a psychologist, a journalist, a therapist, an espionage agent, a human resource manager, an Uber driver, and a counsellor, all in the span of 24 hours, and only being paid for being a solicitor. And not to forget, I have to sometimes, or I feel the need to sometimes, increase my age when I have an intellectually stimulating conversation with my peers in my profession. In private practice, I've seen it all before my very eyes at a very young age. I've been exposed to one of my clients being murdered and shot just before his trial. I've seen unethical transactions in chambers. I've had the media rampage out at us, both my counsel and I, outside of court, to sensationalize the truth, and I've even seen evidence being tampered. That is why I have the power to control my emotions, and I don't mix my emotions or my morals with my work, and that is a dare in itself. Though I have had many clients thank me and shower me with champagne and greeting cards after we have won a trial or a case, I've also had the negative effects on social media. After losing a hearing or two, I've also encountered the flip side of having my inbox spammed with abusive text messages, my emails hacked, and my car keyed. This is, of course, consequences of a very high demanding client who had unrealistic expectations, or their aggressive family members who were know-it-alls and could never be satisfied. But it is all a part of handling both sides with dignity. If you cannot accept the highs and embrace the lows, you're not fit to be a daring leader. I have failed as many tasks and daring responsibilities in life as I've succeeded. I turn my flaws into my lessons, which make me successful. The closest to the glitz and glam of criminal defense is sometimes experiencing my clients who are dressed in green behind the cells, who are desperate to be released from their cells, and when their loved ones count down till the days their bail and or parole is to expire. Earning this confidence and respect is in itself a dare, not an entitlement. But I'm at peace because every single day I help human beings in their day-to-day lives. I often wonder what went inside the bright mind of Marie Biles when she became the first solicitor in New South Wales after the passing of the Women's Legal Status Act in 1918, which was 100 years ago. Or what Ada Evans felt when she became the first practicing barrister, and she was the first law graduate admitted in 1902 after being the first and then becoming the first barrister in 1921 in New South Wales, the first female barrister, I must add. They both challenged gender stereotypes and opposed male colleagues who outnumbered them in this profession. So today, the legal profession in New South Wales is still dominated by older Anglo-Saxon males who keep a powerful network to hang around. Gender inequality is as much of a direct problem as the inherent lack of cultural diversity in the legal profession in New South Wales. Nobody of the opposite sex would feel the inconvenience of deprivation that I sometimes experience or have experienced in the past. I am more educated, I am more experienced, I am equally skilled, if not more capable, and I am equally flexible, yet I'm still underpaid. And I will always be less paid than my male counterparts in my profession. I bear this frustration every day. I've seen and known very well that male solicitors my age, with my level of experience, would earn higher than me, even if their title was not a partner of a firm, even if their status was lower than mine. Female lawyers with equal qualifications and equal skills do not receive equal salaries because of gender pay gap, which is very existent and is embedded into our culture. And these reforms that are supported by the government and by all heads of parliament is on paper, but not in practice. Irrespective of the size of a law firm or intentions of the employer, pay gap does exist. I have fallen victim to discrimination against my gender, my race, and even my age in the legal profession. But have I done anything about it? Absolutely. My parents had raised me independently at a very young age. They preached that I am their son and I am their daughter. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. I was brought up with the upbringing that there's nothing that a male could do that a woman could not. That is why I'm here spreading this awareness, and I hope that you all do push for equal pay even in your professions, in your chosen professions in the future. I recently became a signatory to the Charter for Advancement of Women in the Legal Profession, which I'm very proud of. There are other daring legal professionals around the globe who risk their own lives to spread a strong message of national peace, social justice, political equality, and freedom of speech. I will briefly mention human rights lawyers who sacrificed their careers to improve conditions in their countries, and they executed a legacy to redirect the course of history in their countries. Their bravery, their courage, and their bold heart should be admired and approved and acknowledged by everyone here. They inspire me to develop perfections from the most imperfect situations. 2 months ago, Nasrin Sotoudeh, who holds a 2012 Sakharov Prize for Human Rights, was convicted to jail in her absence for defending women's rights in Iran in June 2018, only a few months ago. A few years ago, she was also imprisoned for at least 6 years of defending an accused who required legal representation against an authoritative state. Prison walls and abuse from state of power did not prevent her from protecting civilians against legal oppression, and I wish well for her safety. Similarly, 3 very well-known human rights lawyers became victim to kidnapping, unlawful detention, and blackmail in China. Yu Wangsheng was detained in January 2018 for advocacy against a political party, and there have been minimal updates surfaced on the internet in the past 7 months about his whereabouts. I pray for his liberty. Wang Quizang has been detained in a Chinese jail for at least 3 years, and that was because of his line of advocacy. And it is unclear as of January 2018 whether he is alive or so beaten that he has been kept in hiding. Wang Yu, who was awarded the prestigious Human Rights Prize in 2016, was also sentenced for a full-time custodial sentence for challenging cases of capital punishment and for protecting and representing victims or families of victims who suffered sexual abuse in her country. She may be released on conditional liberty, but she has lost her license to practice as a lawyer, and she can no longer be an advocate. I'm curious to find out the truth behind the torture methods used during captivity of these legal professionals and their current life situations, and I hope to see where UN has their position in this matter. I pay my respect to and tribute these human beings who use their bold hearts, unique professional skills, conviction and ambition to resist against the inevitable. I must congratulate my peers that in 2016, according to the Law Society, 50% of female solicitors holding a practicing license was half of the population, half of the census in the legal profession. 50% of solicitors holding a practicing license were females in 2016. And that is an accomplishment, that half of my profession is the same gender as me. But this is the only beginning. This is only the beginning, so let's enforce mandatory pay between the 50-50 ratio of women to men lawyers. How do we increase the pay and the percentage of female principal solicitors to more than the current 14% statistic? And how do we decrease the global 27% pay gap for partners in law firms? We stand up for gender equality, enforce women's pay rights, and dare to negotiate women's salaries to be equal to their male opponents without women needing to prove themselves. I dare my female solicitors to quantify and match their earnings to male lawyers in my profession. In my perfect utopia, poverty would no longer exist, global hunger would be eliminated, nature would not be on the verge of extinction, slaughtered meat would be banned, Eddie Mabo would be printed on every single Australian currency, note and coin, women would earn equal pay in their fields, and all religions and human beings would coexist in a peaceful, eco-friendly world. I dare this vision, and it's my vision, and there's no harm to dream. Collectively, we have a very long way to go, but individually, I've come so far because I've dared to stand for a meaningful purpose in life. From the moment my face appeared on the television commercials for Access Community Radio, yes, that's correct, and on billboards in Auckland in 1997, my photos were all around published in newspapers when I was merely in primary school after being invited to perform a solo dance when I was 8 years old in Wellington, New Zealand. Before the Indian High Commissioner at the age of 8, I realized I was already a rising star in a country or land where English was not my first language, English was my second language. In my journey, I will continue to value my self-worth and cherish my responsibilities of gambling a human being's life and liberty in my hands. For dare has become my most treasured asset. If an Indian-born female solicitor can become a self-made leader as a partner of a legal practice in Sydney, New South Wales, then anyone can take the dare to change society for the better, stand for a purpose, overturn sexism, racism, or inequality, and completely put that out of practice. I have almost won, but now I dare you.